This National Geographic Society special is made possible by a grant from Gulf Oil Corporation.
Only in imagination can we glimpse the events that began this story. It was more than 350 years ago that a great Spanish fleet set sail from Havana, Cuba, bound home for Spain. One large galleon, the Nuestra Senora de Atocha, bore a fortune in gold and silver, and with her sailing, a series of tragic and fateful events began that have not ceased even in the modern world today. The outskirts of Key West, Florida. A modest houseboat is the home of a man whose life has been inspired and shadowed by the destiny of those Spanish ships so long ago. Mel Fisher is a professional treasure hunter. While pursuing dreams of untold wealth, he has often lived on the brink of poverty. But Fisher and his wife Dio have never doubted their unconventional calling. Fisher's reputation is controversial and contradictory. He has been described as a dreamer, praised as a brilliant inventor, and dismissed as a fly-by-night promoter. But Fisher has combined uncommon tenacity with a natural gift for flamboyance. His headquarters and office is a replica of a Spanish galleon moored in Key West Harbor. Over the years, the ship has become a symbol of Fisher's stubborn search for a treasure as rich as it is elusive. The morning of September 6th, 1622. Seized in a mounting hurricane, the Nuestra Senora de Atocha was torn and helpless. The great galleon and 260 terrified souls aboard her would perish, but her gold and silver remained, lost somewhere in a vast and angry sea. Florida Keys. Until recently, it was generally known only that the Nuestra Senora de Atocha sank somewhere off this 200-mile stretch of islands. The surrounding waters are a dangerous maze of reefs and shallows, as rich in hazard as in beauty. Treasure lies here. Countless valuable ships have been lost off Florida. But the wreck's locations are known only vaguely, and all visible traces of them have disappeared. So it was with the Atocha, a ship enshrined in mystery. February 1970, Seville, once the capital of Spain's rich trade with her American colonies. Eugene Lyon came here to study Spanish colonial documents, working for his doctoral degree in history. But a chance discovery in these archives would change his life for years to come. Lyon is a native of Florida and a man engrossed in Spain's colonial past. He is perhaps one of the few men in the world capable of understanding the extraordinary document he chanced upon, the expense report of a Spaniard who sought unsuccessfully to salvage the Atocha in the 17th century.
I was looking through an index for some material relating to Spanish Florida and ran across an audit of the accounts of the salvage of a ship on the coast of Florida. I felt immediately it was from the 1622 ships. The first page that I saw was one of the last pages in the bundle, or legajo, which is almost completely riddled with wormholes. It's almost as much air to the page as there is paper remaining after the worms had done their damage. And on this last page, it used the words that I saw for the first time, Cayos del Marqués.
Cayos del Marqués. On modern maps, Marquesas Keys. An isolated cluster of islands 20 miles from Key West and almost 100 miles from the area where the Atocha was generally supposed to have sunk. According to Lyon's information, the Atocha lies somewhere in this vicinity. He writes immediately to a treasure hunter he knows and trusts, and the search off the Marquesas begins. Having already sought the Atocha in another area for almost 2 years, Mel Fisher eagerly seizes on Lyon's new information. Fisher is nearing 50. He has staked everything on finding the treasure of the Atocha, which he estimates could be worth $100 million. Harassed by rivals and rising debts, Fisher has never wavered in his conviction that he will someday find the wreck he calls the Big A. Later, many would speculate whether Fisher would have abandoned the hunt if he had known what lay ahead. Fisher and his crew of young divers scour reefs the Atocha might have struck in 1622. According to further documents found in the Spanish archives, the Atocha and another galleon sank within 4 miles of each other. The second ship, the Santa Margarita, was partly salvaged by the Spaniards, but the Atocha disappeared under shifting sands within a year. According to her manifest, the Atocha carried 901 bars of silver, 161 bars or discs of gold, and some 255,000 silver coins. In months of diving, Fisher's crew locates many wrecks, ranging from modern fishing boats to a vessel sunk during the Civil War. The seafloor is littered with bombs and torpedo casings, many expended during training in World War II. There are lost anchors, chains, and fish traps, but none of this comparatively modern refuse yields any clue to the Atocha. Still, Fisher persists, widening the area of search. June 1971. In a shallow area called the Quicksands, an object is found that stirs hope. It's a large anchor, obviously very old. Over 15 feet long, with a huge iron ring, the anchor's size and antique design suggest that it could have belonged to the Atocha. But there is no way to prove the connection, and search in the surrounding sand yields no conclusive evidence. The following summer, the quiet shores of the Marquesas witness a colorful invasion. Here, hundreds of years before, the Spanish made their camp while attempting to find and salvage the Atocha. Now, to support exactly the same quest, Mel Fisher seeks to fire the enthusiasm of his investors.
Come on, everybody, we're going to start the big treasure hunt.
Fisher organizes a hunt for the remains of the Spanish salvors' camp. He knows from long experience that treasure fever is a highly contagious disease.
According to our research, this little island here was the camp base for the Spaniards that were salvaging on the Margarita. But we haven't spent any time at all on land here because we've been concentrating on these millions and millions out in the ocean. So today's our first attempt at finding this little catch on land, and you're just liable to be the ones to find it. It's finders keepers, okay?
The Spanish camp is not found, But the faith and enthusiasm of Fisher's supporters remain undimmed. Only a romantic and unbounded optimism can justify investment in treasure hunting. But Fisher has rarely found that spirit in short supply. At sea, the hunt goes on. Magnetometers, instruments that can detect iron objects underwater, are towed over a wide area. Hundreds of contacts are charted and marked with buoys.
Okay, T, be ready. Here it comes, throw it.
The hunt by now has become vastly expensive and has yielded nothing of comparative value. In an all-out effort, Fisher brings a barge to the site. For 3 months, her crew will excavate the sea bottom in the area where the ancient anchor was found. It is likely that much of the Atocha's wooden hull would have rotted away after 3 centuries underwater, and heavy metal, including the treasure, could well have settled deep into the sand. But through the summer of 1972, months of costly digging will produce not a single trace of the Atocha's presence. By fall of 1972, as bad weather closes in, Mel Fisher's treasure hunt appears a fiasco. Fisher is all but broke and has been forced to lay off many of his crew. Relying on close associates and family members like his eldest son, Dirk, he has little hard evidence to support his claim that he is on the brink of finding the Atocha. Ashore, Fisher's galleon headquarters is besieged by impatient creditors.
Yes, David there. This is Blythe returning his call.
Fisher's cause has been hurt by his chronic overstatements and exaggerations. The man who spoke just months ago as if millions were within his grasp now has trouble meeting routine expenses. At the eye of the storm is his general manager and press representative, Blythe McHaley.
As I say, you can't get bought out of a turnip, so what are we going to do?
When you don't find things, find treasure, the money doesn't come in. And the wintertime is always a hard time to raise money.
Okay.
And it was really pretty bad.
I'll tell you, it just ain't easy, you know. People think we just go out and with an inner tube and a bushel basket and fill it full of gold, but it just don't work out that way, you know. But I remember that you had that friend of yours said he might want to be a partner along with us, you know, for 50 grand.
Through a lean winter, Fisher's operation is kept alive by friends and crew members who refuse to accept defeat. For each, finding the Atocha has become a challenge that verges on obsession. Among the most determined is a photographer-diver, Don Kincaid.
I think most of the frustration that we felt then was simply an inability to do any work, not necessarily an inability to find anything. A lot of times we couldn't go out to sea because we didn't have enough money to buy fuel for the Virgilona to go out, or enough to buy groceries. So the guys would kick in as much money as we had in the bank just to finance a trip for the company, which was really scraping the bottom of the barrel because none of us had been paid for 16 or 20 weeks.
There was a time in that period that I think we all were ready to give up, including Mel. We thought, well, maybe it isn't worth it. Maybe there really isn't a shipwreck out here after all. And of course, come the spring when things get better, the enthusiasm is back. There's nothing like finding something to get everybody together.
By the spring of 1973, Mel Fisher's hopes are alive again. He has managed to acquire a powerful tugboat, the Southwind, and adapt it for treasure hunting. Though the Southwind was designed to work in protected inland waters, Fisher needs her tremendous horsepower at sea.
All right, everybody ready? All right, see if you get your pen now.
Fisher employs one of his own inventions, so-called mailboxes, elbow-shaped tubes which, when lowered underwater, serve to deflect the Southwind's prop wash downward at the sea bottom. Magnetometers have long indicated many promising metal concentrations lying deep under mud and sand, and now there is a far more effective way to uncover them. The serene underwater world is transformed by the deafening sound and violent wash of the south wind's propellers. Divers work below in a chaotic twilight of swirling sand. Bit by bit, Fisher enlarges the search area until the sea bottom resembles a battlefield strewn with craters. Still, progress is slow, as Kim, one of Fisher's sons, now reports.
We're about 6 feet down.
About 6 feet, is that all?
Yeah. It's a long little,
It's what?
long,
Which way?
lengthwise.
This way.
Right.
From the ropes stretching out probably, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
From the angle, too.
I guess we'll have to give it more RPM, see if we can get down to bedrock, because that's where all the gold is. They don't work as good as I hoped the way it is, but maybe with a little more RPM we can hack it. That's really a lot of sand down there.
Everything now depends on finding treasure, and finding it soon. If not, Fisher's fragile base of credit and investor confidence will soon collapse. His perennial rallying cry, "Today's the day," is wearing thin. In May 1973, after almost 3 years of search, the sands begin to yield some promise. Blackened by corrosion, looking much like pieces of coal, silver coins begin to appear in the sand. First one, then several dozen, then hundreds, and finally more than 1,000 coins will be found during one memorable day. Some coins are clean enough to be identified immediately. The crew can tell they are Spanish and feel certain that the Atocha or the Santa Margarita have been found at last. But before a definite claim can be made, the entire hoard of coins must be cleaned and subject to expert examination. The process of cleaning the coins will lag far behind the pace of discovery. Centuries of incrustation must be carefully removed in the deliberate, unhurried atmosphere of the laboratory. The coins are Spanish, the famous silver pieces of 8 and 4. All were mined and minted in Peru and Mexico, origins consistent with the known cargo of the Atocha. A final report on all the coins is years away, but their gleaming beauty inspires the search as never before. Fisher digs on in the area where the coins first appeared, a spot so rich it is now called the Bank of Spain. The work is noisy, hot, and often monotonous. Through the long summer days, the south wind's engines roar from dawn to dusk.
Hey, Bert, I'm going to go ahead and get out of the way, and then you go ahead and...
Most of Fisher's crewmen are inexperienced at treasure hunting, but they're young and strong and seem to thrive on the hard physical labor of the hunt. Often, divers come to the surface totally exhausted, yet within minutes, they will compete for the chance to go down again.
Another handful of coins. Hey, Mike, you got anything? Hey, look. A bit, Mark?
As the summer wears on, divers will discover more and more artifacts, utilitarian objects like eating utensils. Though centuries old, many have been remarkably preserved from deterioration. probably from being buried deeply in silt and sand. In June, Dirk Fisher makes an extraordinary find. He uncovers a mariner's astrolabe, an ancient navigational instrument made of brass alloy that could well have been aboard the Atocha. A precursor of the sextant, the astrolabe is one of the few of this type known still to exist. The discovery of this rare artifact will bring Fisher increased attention and support.
Look at this thing. Man. It works. Look at that. That looks like it just come out of a machine shop, doesn't it? Dirk, I think that's the best thing we've found, you know?
Father's Day 1973. Kim Fisher presents his offering. 2 large pieces of gold.
Oh, what you got?
Unlike silver, the gold retains its luster, despite hundreds of years of submersion.
Let me shake your hand.
Fantastic. Jimmy.
Oh, man.
What do you got? Look at a mint.
Boy, that must weigh, what, 10 pounds?
God, it felt like it.
Finds are now being made almost daily. It is certain that a valuable wreck has been found. But is it the Atocha? Fisher has long insisted publicly that it is. But proving his case is difficult. Like the boy who cried wolf too often, he is open to doubt and criticism on every side.
I think it is, yeah.
Blank. No markings on it.
Artifacts and valuables from the site are subject to minute examination. For the past 3 years, Gene Lyon has followed the trail of the Atocha with mounting excitement.
The materials all speak with a voice to us about what ship it was, where it came from, and about the people that were aboard. The gold disc bears the royal seal, or the sello real, this round seal with the king's name. It had been assayed and was stamped with the mark showing its carat rating. 15 carats, 3 grains, or 3/4 of a carat. The general wealth of gold found aboard was one thing which indicated that this was a major ship, a passenger-carrying galleon. Many, many coins were found. Dating found on the coins themselves is often incomplete. It will be the last 2 digits of a chronological year number. But no coins have been found which post-dated 1622. This rosary is beautifully made and speaks also of the disaster and the way in which people had to meet it in the best way they could, possibly by telling the beads of the rosary as the ship neared destruction. The cumulative evidence led us to the conclusion that we had one of 2 ships, Santa Margarita or the Nuestra Señora de Atocha. Which one it was, we did not yet know.
In Key West, the mood is jubilant. A party is thrown aboard the galleon for Fisher's friends and supporters. After a long, hard winter, treasure hunting is fun again. Word of Fisher's success and imminent wealth is spreading fast. He holds court with old Treasure Tales, a man who is living what most hardly dare to dream.
And as soon as the engines went off, all the sand started tumbling down. It covered this chest up, you know. And so I went up and I asked him for a buoy quick, and I went down and put a block and a buoy right next to this chest of coins and covered it with 4 big coral heads. And then I kind of wiggled my hands back into the sand where I knew it was, you know, and I come out with 2 hands full of coins, swam up with it. And that was in the dark.
It's covering up, though, so fast.
Fisher's confidence will soon be confirmed by events. Within a week, an electrifying find will be made at the site. The objects that will stir so much excitement and controversy are deceptively drab at first glance. The diver who found the first one will later recall it looked like a loaf of bread. The gray oblong bar seems impossibly heavy. It's a struggle to bring it to the surface. The divers have always known that both the Atocha and the partially salvaged Santa Margarita carried bars of silver. Just days before, Gene Lyon jokingly asked that a silver ingot be found. Now he will be informed that 3 such bars have been brought aboard the Southwind.
The office called and said they found a mess of silver bars down here. We came alongside the Southwind. There was a large crew of people, and there in this tub were these 3 blackened items. The first ingots I'd seen except in photographs for years and years, but they looked beautiful. And we could see even through the silver sulfide covering the bars that there were markings on them. At this point, I didn't know what a serial number should look like. I'd only seen it written out in Spanish. I didn't know that they would be in Roman numerals. But as soon as I saw them, I knew that's what they must be. These are the marks that show the fineness of the silver. CCCLXXX, which is 380, so it's 2,002,000. I'm just guessing, Bill, that those are the mint mark.
Lyon hopes that he can match the serial numbers on the bars with entries on the manifests of either the Atocha or the Santa Margarita. Returning to Key West with notes and drawings, Lyon will spend 3 days poring over microfilm copies of the ancient manifests.
I first searched the Santa Margarita registry. I found no such bar numbers. I began on the Atocha registry with the Cartagena lading, that is, the cargo loaded on the ship in Cartagena, and had gone only a few pages into that when I found a shipment made of crown money paid for a head tax on slaves sold in Cartagena after being shipped from West Africa. One of those was bar number 4584, one of the 3 bar numbers we had found.
The serial number written out in Spanish script, the drawing of bar number 4584, and the bar itself. The evidence is dramatically clear. For Lyon, this moment is sheer delight. Patience and scholarship have unlocked a mystery more than 3 centuries old. A day later, the Southwind heads into Key West, bringing the silver bars. Skeptics and believers, tourists and investors are among the spectators as the Southwind comes in from sea. A final test is planned to confirm identification of the bars. The Atocha's manifest lists the weight of bar number 4584 when it was loaded by the Spanish in 1622. Now, 351 years later, the weight should match exactly. A scale has been preset to 63 6/10 pounds. It's a breathless moment as bar 4584 is weighed for the first time in 3 centuries. The weight, too, is the same.
Well, this seemed to me very clear proof and definitive proof. And while I felt certain myself, we came under direct, strong, and virtually immediate challenge on this identification, partly because it was to the interest of many people that this not be the Atocha. They couldn't admit that this might be the Atocha. And secondly, because the claim had been made strongly and the controversy, the resulting denial was equally strong.
So the newspapers, you know, they like a controversy. It sells papers, and so they would print both sides of the story, and I can't blame them, you know. And they would quote my competitors saying that I was salting the wreck, or I'd hauled the stuff from somewhere else out to the Atocha or whatever, or that I was just saying I had found it so I could get more investors or stockholders. And when they said that, that's when my attorney called me. He said, hey, you know what? The SEC is going to be knocking on your door Monday morning. And sure enough, Monday morning, there they were.
Well, SEC investigation begins. All because we had found what we said we were going to find. And I think they expected to come down and find that we had taken little old lady's sugar bowl money. And typical of a con, we'd have a little rowboat out there and go around the island once or twice looking for treasure and abscond with people's money. Well, I think they found out that that wasn't true. But during this period, here we are, down in the dumps again. We're fighting for our very lives. We are accused of salting treasure, accused of counterfeiting it. We were included in a story called us one of the great treasure frauds. And trying to fight that and stay alive at the same time was almost impossible.
Fisher is embroiled in bitter controversy by the time Florida state officials make a dramatic visit to take charge of the treasure.
200 silver coins, number 1955.
While taking no stand on the identity of the wreck, the state of Florida has claimed jurisdiction over it from the beginning. By contract, all treasure recovered must be turned over to the state for safekeeping. Ultimately, the state is entitled to 25% of everything that Fisher finds.
1 silver bar, number 1950.
Up high. Up high.
Fisher is unable to sell or display his finds because of his uneasy partnership with the state. Controversy over the authenticity of the treasure and a government investigation of Fisher's business practices will plague him further in the months ahead. And his troubles are as widely publicized as his success. Consider the strange and restless destiny of this gold and silver. It was mined by Indian slaves as the fruit of Spanish conquest. It was lost and then found again after centuries had passed and the world had been transformed. Yet still it moves from hand to hand, borne on the tides of human enterprise and power. Its ultimate destination still unknown.
We're now 10-8 in Key West, and we're 10:51 to the airport with the truck and the treasure, 38.
In the wake of the silver bars, material continues to come from the site. It's always enough to keep hopes high, but never sufficient to satisfy critics or silence rivals. Fisher's crew is confident that sooner or later they will hit the mother lode, the bulk of the Atocha's treasure concentrated in one spot. But for the moment, they have only tantalizing bits and pieces. More gold. There's jewelry, a few coins, and even a gold cup, heavily encrusted with shells and limestone. Behind the scenes, Mel Fisher is desperately struggling to keep his operation alive. An impartial evaluation of Fisher's discoveries is almost impossible to arrange. Many authorities are unwilling to authenticate or even examine the artifacts, for fear they too will be engulfed in controversy. And Fisher's treasure continues to be sequestered by the state. For the next year and a half, he must wait impatiently until Florida authorities are ready for a division. In March 1975, Fisher, his family, and crew finally will see the treasure divided with the state. They arrive for the formal proceedings in Florida's capital, Tallahassee. In an unused jail cell, all the treasure found so far is briefly put on public display. For visitors, it's a dazzling sight, a glimpse of the opulence and grandeur of imperial Spain. of the gold on display was probably the personal property of wealthy passengers aboard the galleon. And these artifacts provide fascinating glimpses of their way of life. For instance, there is the crushed gold cup of unusual design. It is speculated that a pellet mounted inside the cup was intended to react chemically to the presence of poison and thus warn its owner of treachery. None of the gold pieces found so far are listed on the Spanish manifests. Most probably they were contraband. Smuggling was common in the 17th century, even though the penalties could be severe.
Say the numbers loud enough, please.
The division begins. Each object has been assigned a relative value in terms of abstract points rather than dollars.
1950, 50 points.
Preparations and behind-the-scenes bargaining have taken months, and the formalities today will go on for hours.
1722, 55 points. And 2107, go with 2036. That's page 14.
Okay, now if we can have that table down there, we'll move these others down there and begin work on the rest of it. Next time.
3440.
For Mel Fisher, a confusing and frustrating paper chase lies ahead. Soon after this division, the United States Supreme Court will rule the treasure does not lie in Florida state waters after all. But soon after that, the federal government will claim that it has jurisdiction. More than a year later, Fisher will still not know for certain exactly how much of the treasure is really his. As expensive legal battles rage on, it seems clear that the trouble with treasure has only begun when it is found.
It's on the last page, 2036 gold chalice, 18,000 points. 18,000.
Now, they're part of those total points.
Fisher by now has gained an important ally. Duncan Mathewson, a marine archaeologist, has joined the treasure hunters as a consultant.
Leaves them 19,000 more points to choose this afternoon.
Few scholars care to brave the controversy that still surrounds Fisher's operation. Even now, Florida officials are careful to avoid endorsing Fisher's claim that the Atocha has been found. Mathewson reads their carefully worded official statement.
Pages 1 to 27 and pages 1 to 29 have been authenticated by us as from site 8MO141 and from a 1622 Spanish shipwreck site. This will be dated the 3rd of March, 1975, and both the Senator and Ross Morrell, as Chief State Archaeologist, will sign this. This will go as their statement of authenticity on all the material within the division today.
Under Mathewson's direction, extensive new surveys of the wreck site have been launched from Key West. Charting and record keeping have often been haphazard in the past. Mathewson is the first to apply a rigorous scientific approach to the hunt. The archaeologist knows that the Atocha's remains are widely scattered on the seafloor, but the locations of objects found are concentrated along a hypothetical line extending from the southeast to the northwest.
As we go towards the northwest, we come across the edge of the shallow quicksands area, and this is the beginning point of the area that Treasure Salvers has been finding most of their material over the last 3 years. But as you go out from that impact area towards the northwest, the ballast thins out, the artifact concentrations thin out. This led me to believe that we had to go back down the line, back towards the deep area, and it should be here that we would find the main mother lode.
Many of the treasure hunters doubt Mathewson's deep water theory, but the idea makes sense to Fisher's eldest son, Dirk. By July 13th, 1975, Dirk has led the search into murky waters more than 40 feet down.
I was walking up one of the gunnels of the boat, and I hear this screaming. I look out, And Dirk just broke the surface, and he's waving his arms, screaming as loud as he could. And at first I thought something was wrong, you know. I got up and I finally made out that he wanted a buoy. So we went back and got in the whaler and started up and got some buoys together and went out, threw the anchor in about the spot where Dirk was. And by that time, he calmed down enough, we were close enough, I could figure out what he was saying. He said there was bronze cannons there, what he'd been looking for all along out in the deep water. Threw the anchor down, swam them down along the line, and there they were, 5 bronze cannons sitting right on the top.
Like apparitions in a dream, the cannon lie in plain sight. And in the general area Fisher has searched for so many years. Countless times, divers and search boats must have passed near them. In the next few days, the location and positions of the cannon will be carefully documented. For Fisher's crew, the sight is staggering. After a long game of hide and seek, the Atocha seems now to say, "Come and get me. Here I am." Excitement is intense by the time the first cannon are raised. Since the silver bars were found, Fisher and his crew have yearned for such evidence as this. Impossible to forge or fake, each cannon barrel is cast in solid bronze and weighs more than 1.5 tons. Years of controversy and disappointment make this a moment of supreme satisfaction. Here is vindication for Mel Fisher in his 53rd year, provided by his 21-year-old son.
Oh, that's magnificent. I've been looking longer for one of these than any of you guys. About 30 years.
Well, you found it. Is this the first one you found?
Yep, I've chased down about 1,000 bronze cannon stories, and they all piddled out. I'm beginning to think they never made any.
Again, the records of the Atocha are checked against evidence from the sea. This time, the result will be conclusive.
1607. Anya. Wonder where the weight's at.
Here it is on the list, on the inventory list that Gene Lyon got in Sevilla. One piece at 3,110 pounds.
So listing weights and types
This is
of bronze
listing weights
cannons.
of bronze cannon aboard the Atocha. So that is positive identification that this cannon is off the
The cannon are brought in. It's 7 years since Mel Fisher began his quest for the Atocha. 5 years since he started his search near the Marquesas Keys. But only today can he claim without fear of contradiction that the Atocha has been found. In all, 9 bronze cannon are found and will be eventually raised from the sea bottom. 5 are too corroded to be specifically identified, but the remaining 4 bear royal shields and weights that coincide exactly with the Atocha's armament list from the archives in Seville. Fisher's crew will celebrate only briefly. Certain that the bulk of the Atocha's treasure lies near the spot where the cannon were found, they are eager to return to the site. Dirk Fisher receives a $10,000 reward from his father. From boyhood, he has known the day-to-day drudgery of treasure hunting. But now, the dream is coming true. Dirk, along with his wife Angel, leads a group of divers back to sea a few days later. Don Kincaid recalls the night of July 19th, 1975.
Well, I was asleep and heard a voice that said, "Hey, look out up there." And I didn't have my glasses on. I woke up, went out to check, and thought I saw somebody in the back deck. Went back in and put my glasses on, and then heard it again. Somebody said, "Hey, look out there." And I walked outside and didn't see anybody, but I noticed that the boat had a list, which is no big deal. It happens all the time.
Kincaid retraces his movements early the next morning, only minutes before chaos and tragedy.
So I went down below to, after getting the flashlight, to wake up the engineers so that we could go down inside the engine room and straighten the ship out. We went down, walked along the deck, went back into the galley, which goes right down into the engine room on the north wing. And while I was standing in the galley, I could see water start to come in the door. I yelled at the other guy and got around outside and just walked up the side of the boat. As the boat turned itself over, just walked physically up the hull and onto the bottom of the thing in about 5 steps, and it was upside down. It was pitch blackness. There was no masks, no lights at that point. The light that I had been knocked out of my hands. Diesel fuel in the water. If you opened your eyes in the water, you wouldn't have been able to see anything after that. So we did what we could. Couldn't get into any of the rooms. Complete disorientation, ropes and lines and stuff floating all over the place. Finally, after about 15 minutes, the guy that was in the engine room managed to get himself out. He had to work upside down with a flashlight that he had found floating around in the water. No mask or anything. He managed to get himself outside. It took him 15 minutes to do it. And about 3 minutes after he got outside, the boat sank completely. Just went just right out from underneath of us.
So I called Mel, and I said, "Mel, you and Dio better come over to the office right away. There's been an accident on the North Wind." Well, instead of coming over to the office as I asked, he did what he thought was the right thing, and that's he walked just a few blocks over to the Coast Guard base, Coast Guard office. And it was there that they were told by a Coast Guard officer that Dirk and Angel were dead and that Rick Gage was dead.
The North Wind has sunk, joining the Atocha on the seafloor near the Marquesas Keys. Somehow an undetected leak developed in the night, causing the tug to capsize with little warning. Trapped in their cabins, Dirk and Angel Fisher and another diver, Rick Gage, were unable to escape. Shock and grief rock the small, closely knit world of the treasure hunters. In one bewildering and tragic week, Dirk's triumph has been followed by a loss so sudden and fateful. It almost seems a deliberate retribution by the sea. For many here today, the search for the Atocha becomes a more somber but essential task.
We all had a sort of a rededication of going out to find that main part of the wreck. We all felt that it was there now that Dirk had found the cannons. It was very important for us all. Myself, Eugene, the crew, everybody. I know Mel and Dio wanted to carry through. Dirk and Angel were both very close to all our hearts then, and we felt that we should really continue to work in that deep area as consistently as we possibly could.
Within days, a boat will go out to stand guard on the site, and soon the search will begin again.
I don't think it occurred to anybody at any time that we would quit. There's so many people that have believed in us and believed in the treasure. There would be no way that we could not fulfill our obligation to these people. Accidents happen. You cry and go on. You can't stop.
April 1976. Though small finds continue to be made, the bulk of the Atocha's treasure still has not been found. Anchored permanently at the site, a rusting surplus Coast Guard vessel proclaims Mel Fisher's right to the Atocha, an issue still contested by the federal government. A crew of divers lives aboard and continues the search. The area where the cannon were found has been combed methodically with little result.
Hey, Joe. Yeah. Come here, I want to show you guys something.
Despite grief and continued frustration, Mel Fisher still sustains and sells a shining dream.
Well, it's a bar of silver.
Oh, my golly.
Wow.
Amazing.
The best part is there's 896 more to go.
896?
Yeah. This is number 5. We brought in 5 of them now. And there was 901 of them loaded, you know, that's on the manifest. So Dr. Lyons says, Mel, you got 896 more to go.
On periodic visits to the site, Fisher continues to press the hunt.
Hey, Duncan, how you doing? How you doing? We got some goodies for you, Pat.
For historians, it is satisfaction enough that the Atocha's resting place now is known. But Mel Fisher, first and always, is after treasure.
Okay, here we go.
The mathematics of his quest are still beguiling. He estimates he has spent $3 million to recover $8 million worth of treasure so far. But if nothing more is found, he personally might receive little more than a living wage for his efforts when all debts and obligations are settled.
Well, here he comes. Maybe we'll find out what's wrong with it. What do you see, Pat?
Doesn't look too good down there, Mel. I think last
Still, young divers scour the sea bottom. With them, Fisher retains a close affinity. Because of their age, perhaps, and despite his, they share a common optimism.
Move the block over right where it was, you know, before it started dragging. Because this green line's vital. If we get that right, today's the day. Well, I just made up my mind I'm going to find it and probably just keep going till I do. One of the things that keeps us going is the ideas like today's the day, and if it doesn't happen to be at the end of the evening, sometimes we'll say tomorrow's the day. But strange as it may seem, I got the feeling we're going to find it in the next few days. I really think we're that close I can taste it.
No one who knows Mel Fisher doubts that the hunt will go on. And if and when all the treasure is found, only Mel Fisher can say whether he has paid too much for it or not.
Look out for these other National Geographic releases.